Hello, hello. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And nice to see you here. We're going to wait a few minutes to get people in, and then we'll get the show on the road. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone changed their clocks accordingly. Spring ahead. Hey, Pamela. Yes, springing ahead. I still am on the fence of it being redonkulous that we haven't changed the time, because I don't get it. I think it's great for commercial, and even I think that one of the initial reasons why they did this daylight savings time was for farmers, and even farmers don't like it. So I think that it was a faux pas. So we should probably follow who does it, like Arizona, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam. Hey, Beth. Virgin Islands. I think none of them switch time zones. They stay the same time zone all year round. They don't go switching time zones like the rest of the United States. So yeah. So I think it's just kind of like a mind, like playing with your mind kind of thing. But yeah. It's kind of weird. But welcome, welcome, welcome. All the newcomers, come on in. Have a seat. Grab popcorn. And welcome for another episode of Inside Moonshadow. We have, this is episode 113 today. Hello! What's going on, Luke? Nice to see you. Is technology not getting quirky on me before the end of the show? That'd be good. But the topic is, I'll give you a hint, the topic does have something to do with connecting with your higher self as well as potentially your spirit guides. And I'll be sharing one method today on what you could do to gain insight into questions you may have. And you could do this. It's not difficult. It takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of determination and patience, but it's a very, very cool technique. So that is what we're going to work on today. And we have our trusty producer, Ariel, in the house. Yeah, she like it. I was a little nervous. I was a little nervous that the yellow was going to make me look dead. But it didn't. So that's good. But yes, new backdrop. I feel like I'm on a news show. Yes, honestly, I do feel that way, because prior to live streaming on YouTube, I used to live stream on a different platform where people could come in, and this was new to me, to live stream where I'm just seeing a chat and not seeing people, because prior to, I used to be able to have people come in and grab a seat and you could just click on a seat and say, "Hey, come on in," and have people come in. So yes, I agree. I completely concur. I think it would be nice to actually have it where more people can come in, and that is potentially possible if I live stream from my laptop. Once I get a better camera, because I actually get better resolution on my phone, believe it or not, than my laptop presently. But I can also, utilizing my laptop, I can actually bring people in. And that may come in the future of actually having a live stream where a Q&A hangout kind of scenario where the show will be a topic and having a bunch of people in as well. I'm looking at going back to doing guest spots again. I've done that before when I first started, when the technology was favorable to do that, to have guests actually pop in. And I do have a few topics that I'm looking at addressing that there would be guests involved, not just me talking and you seeing my face. Because honestly, well, this is kind of like radio. Honestly, this is a lot like how it used to be when I was on radio, where it would just be a voice out there and I'd be talking to a microphone, except you just don't have the video aspect of it. So I wouldn't know if there would be 18 people, 2 people, 5 people, 2,000 people listening when I was on air on the radio. So this is a little different because at least I can see a number that people are here. And if you guys are most excellent, which you guys are, you guys can pop into the chat and say hey and that kind of thing, which is nice. There's also a super chat feature, but it's I guess it's a way of monetizing, but I don't know if I'd be a big fan on that, just because I believe probably that YouTube as a platform probably takes a good chunk of it. So I wouldn't even function from what I've learned from that. But yes, it would be most excellent to see you guys as well. Even if it was this format, but having pictures of you guys around to see you guys, to see everybody. That'd be most excellent. But we'll see. I'm always looking at trying to improve the show and trying to get things better, and to be on the topic of transparency. It's been a very difficult day, and the fact that I'm still on today is kind of big because and you know this, you know how this works. Like if you have a really, really bad day, you kind of don't want to do anything. You don't want to really connect or be out there. You just kind of want to be on your own by yourself. You don't want to bother. Oh, okay. Well, with YouTube, you don't have to pay for it. It's free. With the other platform, it was free as well, but they kind of just pulled the plug. They didn't know what. It was a happy accident. It was like a serendipitous accident. They got this platform, and a bunch of people came in, and they didn't create a community, but we created a community. And luckily, the community is still strong, just not on that platform. They've separated along multiple platforms, YouTube being one, Be Live, and assorted other places. But a lot of the same people that I connected with in that platform, I'm still connected to today, whether it be Facebook Live, YouTube Live, BeLive.tv, and I've gone through maybe I think 3 or potentially 4 different platforms. I always purposed it to YouTube. So YouTube was the home, has always been the home of Inside with Moonshadow. The only difference was it wasn't live streamed from YouTube. It would be live streamed from another platform and then brought to YouTube. But now it's all in-house. It's all on YouTube, live streaming and everything, because YouTube is, it's a heavy hitter. It's there. So, and they keep on improving it too. Like, I could add a location now with this app. So now it's going to be upgrading to a new phone, and then that should increase resolution. That should increase the quality, the technical quality of the show very drastically. It should be like a major resolution jump. Okay, what do I think is the correct pronunciation of Ariel? Well, there you go. It depends on the person. I've known Ariels. I've known Ariels. I think it would depend on the spelling. I would think it would depend on a lot of things. But the pronunciation from this particular Ariel, my trusted producer, one of my 2 trusted producers, because I do have another producer that pops in, Dawn Marie, which is most excellent. She's over in Colorado, and also a very still. So it would be Ariel. And then there's Ariels. There you go. See, there's Ariels. Yes, Hebrew way or the Disney way. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a lot of that, a lot of that. Yes. And then I've even explained to others the pronunciation. And it's like, no, don't do it like you're a pirate. No, that's almost as bad as Ariel. I'm like, hey, you got to go with phonetics. You got to go with phonetics. At least the pronunciation would be correct. But yeah. Right? But yeah. So we'll give it another few minutes, and hopefully we get a couple more people in, and then we'll get this thing started. I know it's awful. On that topic of preferences, I know that everyone has some kind of preference. Everyone likes a particular chocolate, or particular cereal, or a particular channel, or a particular genre of music, or but see our Riel. Now the pronunciation's off. Ariel. Now, how would you like if someone pronounced that? Oh, you mean Ariel? And you go like, no, it's even worse. Yeah. I'm just glad that you can't really pronounce my name much differently than what it is meant to be. Moon. That's it. Ah, see, that's the whole point. Most people, if they pronounce the actual word, it's our. See, Oriel. Now, they go, oh, so you're like a bird? So either way, it's just crazy. But it is what it is. But we all have preferences. See, that would be... Yeah, but then someone can pronounce the R-E-L-E. You can't win. We live in a world that people can do whatever they want. And I think that is a wonderful thing. But it's very difficult for people that want a particular thing, particular way. It's different. Yes. Just, and that's an interesting thing, because I've had people call me by my first name, which is fine. I happen to like my all my names, my full name, but and they mistaken it for something else. Completely, a totally different name. Now Ariel, they actually called her Arnold, but that's a whole different topic and a whole different story. And she doesn't look like an Arnold at all. But the name that they picked or chose is fine. I'm like, whatever. So to some people, you say tomato, I say tomato. It really depends on how picky you are. It really depends on how picky you are, to be honest. So with Moonshadow, it's Moonshadow. It's not Moonshadow. It's not Moonshadow. It's just Moonshadow. It's great because it's pronunciation, unless you decide to be very, very creative, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I have old friends that call me Moony, Moon Doggy, Moon Bear, Doggy. I'm neither offended by any of them, and it's perfectly okay. As long as it's not a derogatory name, which I'm sure that there are people that would love to call me that too, and, have at whatevs. If the bullseye is on me, then it's not on someone else, so have fun. It's not really going to affect me. It's not going to make me, it's not going to change anything. Yeah. And it's funny because going by a name, I know people that have known me by a multiple different type of names, right? And they know, like, you could be known as your nickname or another name, whatever. And the interesting thing about that is, if you are used to calling somebody, like if I was used to calling Ariel Arnold, then calling her Ariel would feel funny. Yeah. And I'm so glad you're here. That is cool. And it's and you've been a nice added bonus to the show. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you pop in. And yes, exactly. As well. Absolutely. So, okay, let's get this puppy started. But it's an interesting topic today. I want to thank you all for being here. And here we are, episode 113. So let's get this party started. Oh, it's also 7:30, by the way. Okay. There it is. Welcome to Insight with Moonshadow. I'm Moonshadow. I'm an Integrative Holistic Therapist with over 33 years of healing experience in the field. And I'm also Earthy Crunchy and also a CHI-vangelist. And someone that just is a soul having a human experience. And believe me, sometimes this human experience is daunting, to say the least. So, welcome to Insight with Moonshadow, episode 113, on the lovely day of March 12th. Which, hopefully you changed your clocks, moving it an hour ahead. Of course, with the expression, spring ahead, fall back. So we're looking at the springing ahead. Hopefully it didn't mess with your mind too much. To me, I think it is. Old Benjamin Franklin was maybe a little bit. when he thought of it, I think he was just messing with people, going, dude, wouldn't it be cool to just make people change their time twice a year? Yeah. Now, okay, so Cutie Cat has a question. Some people call me an old soul. What does that mean? Well, that's a good question. First of all, when you are considered an old soul, that means, okay, now, old soul usually regards towards reincarnation. So, depending on how many times you've been bouncing around the block, around the planet, that is what would designate how old you are. Now, can you have an absolute definite number of times, instinctive number of how many times you've been here? But being an old soul, that means you are more mature than or more wise than your actual biological years. So a lot of this gray that you see right now, and I apologize for looking like I came out of the forest. I did a little bit of moon, not to scare the public and have villagers with torches in my little state. But, see, there you go. So, your grandpa says that you look like one of his sisters that passed away. Well, you very much may have the same wisdom or the same maturity as one of them. Because, as an example, when I was very, very young, I was always asking very, very interesting questions that not a child of single digits would ask, but someone that would be much older, or concepts that I saw or witnessed or experienced at a very young age. I had an idea or a comprehension to those concepts at a very young age. So that usually means, welcome back. So that usually means you're an older soul. And it depends on where you came in, because sometimes you could be bouncing around. You could be here. You could just be in the United States, for example, your lifetimes. You could be, somewhat contemporary, like 1800s, 1900s, prior to. You could gone way back. So, with a lot of my lifetimes, I've kind of been all over the place. So, it's been, Africa, Scotland, Egypt. Let me see where else. Africa, Scotland, Egypt, here, Europe. So there's been quite a few. But that's what, long story short, that's what is considered an old soul, is if someone values or looks at you and you seem older or have an older energy considering your age. So you could be younger and have a wisdom about you. Yes, Scotland. Yes, sorry, but he's pretty badass anyway. So yes. But yeah, so, and I actually have worn a kilt, and it was pretty damn cool. So I actually am thinking of buying myself a nice kilt, because that would be very cool. That would probably be the next time I go to a Ren fair and get some of that. And they don't usually wear any underwear with that, so that'd be rather liberating, I think. The drafts would be uplifting. But yes, okay, so let's get to the topic at hand. Now, recently we spoke about connecting to your higher self, and we did a little exercise on connecting with your higher self. Well, today's topic was also in being able to connect to your higher self or your spirit guides through the tool or the aspect of, ready folks, automatic writing. Now, I've had a few people actually ask me about automatic writing, back quite a while ago, and I really didn't get into it. I mentioned it. I kind of gave a quick explanation, but I did not base a show on automatic writing. So yeah. So, that's interesting. That's interesting. Cat, cutie. It's something for you to look at. Maybe on a guided journey or a meditation, you could ask your guides that question. In fact, you can do this with this method as well. So what we're doing is, so today we're talking about automatic writing and what is automatic writing. And it is a very powerful way of being able to intuit or divine information. And this is much less to do with you, and it's very much utilizing your higher self or your spirit guide's intuition, and you're basically a channel. The only difference is you're channeling through pen and paper. Now, some people trans-channel. There's many different methods that you could use. You have a lot of you are very used to people using oracle cards or tarot. You can get a lot of info from pulling a card or runes or using a pendulum or pen and paper, which automatic writing is very, very interesting. It's intriguing because what's cool about automatic writing is this. It's a way of honing your intuitive skills and really connecting to either your higher self or your spirit guides or the main consciousness. Because the interesting thing about being connected to source or being connected to the main consciousness is this. A lot of shamanic and spiritual people, they have very similar aspects or very similar ceremony or ritual. Now, an Aboriginal may have never met a Native American, which may have never met a Druid, which may have never met, a witch, as an example. But, interestingly enough, in the mass conscious or source level of information, a lot of them have very similar ceremonies. Because it's just either through oral tradition or through just information being kind of I don't want to say general, but it's a main kind of vein going through a lot of these ceremonies and how they function. So now the first time I tried automatic writing, it was pretty amazeballs, honestly, because when I first tried automatic writing, it was something I'm willing to try anything once, within reason. So what ended up happening was one day I happened to be, my guide said, you should try automatic writing. So I was drawn to it. So now, automatic writing, now I can throw this up to my lovely producer to get the origin of automatic writing because I don't have that information handy, but she can grab that information very, very quickly. Please and thank you. But automatic writing has been around for quite some time. So it's a very, very interesting way of... Hello, Sherry. Welcome, welcome. You made it. I'm glad you made it. I'm very happy for you being here. So now automatic writing has been around for quite some time, and it is a way of letting go of the ego and allowing spirit or source to speak through you. Now, I know one of the questions that are going to pop up. If they haven't popped up already, I've been asked this question multiple times. Can you be influenced by something negative or something that's evil? That's usually one of the first questions I've ever been asked about opening up to your intuition or being open to source. Now, my answer to that, right away I can answer that question, is you are always protected. You have spirit guides, left protectors, totem animals, power animals. You always have these beings and entities that are protective of you. This is their job. So you are truly never alone. Therefore, it can possibly happen, but it's rare. And I'm only saying rare because you have to be pretty weak in the posse department or the spirit council or soul council department for something negative to affect you. So that being said, there's spirit boards. There's all different kinds of methods, but automatic writing is quite interesting. Now, with automatic writing, all you need to do is have a crayon, pen, pencil, marker, whatever it is, and a pad of paper. It could be cardboard. It could be the side of a box. It doesn't matter. Now, the one thing that's really, really important in going on this little adventure with automatic writing is the fact of being open. Okay, so it started being mentioned in 1878. However, it goes back much farther. And I would say so. I would say early 1800s, because spiritualists, way back when, people were already looking, these are some of the people in very high society, were going to spiritualists or people that were able to have seances and connect to the dead and do that stuff for a long, long, long time. Now, would they actually admit to that? No. So yes, the earliest is 1878. So we're going old school, people. Old school, for serious. Now, one of the first things, whether you want to open up to intuition anyway, if you want to build on opening up your intuition or creativity or psychic ability, first of all, you have to be open. You have to be adventurous. So no matter what method or what technique you use, it's very, very important for you to be open and prepared to have an adventure. A lot of people that I've worked with shamanic journeying, when they first started, they already have their expectations. And the first thing that I've told them is not to have expectations, because that can actually hinder or limit you. So it's important to stay open, and who knows what can happen. Just like last week, we had done a small exercise in connecting with your higher self. Some of you saw your higher self. Some of you felt the presence. Some of you, it depended. It depended. Everyone had a different experience, or a slightly different experience. Now this is not much different. So in automatic writing, first of all, you need to set yourself in a space that you're not going to be disturbed, very much like meditation. And a lot of it is very much like meditation. You want to be ready, prepared, and still, and you want to be in the right energy to be able to do that. If you're in the middle of cleaning your house or doing things or watching TV from all aspects and all around me coming in, you don't want that. However, like meditation, is important to be able to center and ground. So that's one of the first things you need to do, is to center and ground. And be prepared for that. Also, too, not having any expectations, as I said, is incredibly important, because you never know what you're going to get. Like, I remember the first time I actually channeled one of my spirit guides. To other people, that may have been very, very scary, for someone to basically take over your body and your voice. Well, it wasn't scary to me, because this particular spirit guide has been with me since I've been little, since I was very, very small. And he's a powerful and very prominent and very profound spirit guide in my life. So when that happened, I was more fascinated than scared. I was like, wow, this is too cool. And it was more like a self-imposed kind of feeling. So it wasn't like a full-on like that. It wasn't like a superimposed. It was like a kind of semi-imposed where I felt like I was almost like if two people sitting, half-assed on a seat. You have one seat and you have two people sitting on it. So I kind of felt like that. So it's kind of like partially overlap. But it was not even remotely a scary thing. So now with automatic writing, you may feel that it may be a scary proposition for you. If that is scary, then I wouldn't suggest you doing it. However, you can work with cards and do something as a starter base of opening up your creativity or your intuition or psychic ability. You could do it that way. But automatic writing is pretty safe, and it's actually a way of gaining information on a particular subject. So, number one, you want to ground and center and be prepared. You want to set up a space, no different than you're doing meditation, or if you're going to bake a cake, you make sure you have all your ingredients. No different. You want to make sure you have everything you need, and then what do? You commence baking in your kitchen. So you're doing the same kind of thing with automatic writing. So now working with automatic writing, you need, you also want to make sure your pen's working, pencil pen was working. So it's the obvious, make sure it's functioning. You want to make sure you have enough paper kind of thing. In the first time trying automatic writing, you may not, the penmanship is going to be very different. You could do it even with your eyes closed. I've done it both ways. I've done it with my eyes open and I've done it with my eyes closed. And either way, they were both very, very profound. Don't be surprised if your vocabulary or your grammar changes or it looks different. Some people actually, when they automatically write, they actually use their different hand. So if you're a righty, you can end up writing with your left. That's also a possibility. But now so now we're set up, we're grounded, we're centered, we're ready to do it. We have our paper in front of us. And then we have a firm affirmation regarding opening up to spirit. You can open up, you can say a little prayer if you want, or say an affirmation. You can bring in your guides, your life protectors, to come into this session or this moment of trying out this automatic writing thing. Okay? So once you do that and you call in the troops to kind of watch over you. And once you do that, then you take pen to paper. I would not suggest for you to read anything or get out of that altered state until you're ready, until you know. Now, question, how do I know? How do I know I'm done? Well, you're going to find yourself stopping for a good amount of time, and then when you stop, you'll know. Something within you is going to know. Very similarly to the way I was taught how to drive like when I was taught to drive stick shift, I was taught to listen. Of listening and hearing explanation of how to drive. The engine peaks at a certain point, and then you know when to shift gears. Well, in the same way, your intuition knows. You just know when it is. Now, of course, with someone that may potentially have joint pain or pain in their hands, then automatic writing may not be for you. You may use a different method, of course. However, this is a great and interesting and fun way of trying something new. instead of using, like, say, an oracle card or tarot or anything like that, which they're all very, very good methods and ways of intuiting information. But this, since we are all truth seekers, and we are, a lot of us want to know what's happening. We want to go deeper within ourselves, and this is one of the reasons why you guys come here. This is something that is another way for you to connect to your higher self, and you can ask that your higher self come in and write. You can ask for your spirit guides to come in and write. Now, I wasn't positive whether it was my higher self at first, whether it was my higher self or one of my spirit guides that were writing. All I know is when I looked at it, the handwriting looked completely different. The syntax and the grammar and how it was written was completely different than I normally write. Same thing with trance channeling. When I first started trance channeling, it was my posture was different, my voice was different, my demeanor was different, everything was very, very different. Because in essence, it wasn't me, it was my spirit guide speaking through me, utilizing my body and my vocal cords and my voice. And even though he really liked actually not having his eyes open. His eyes were closed when he was speaking to my clients at the time. So as you're sitting there, you've brought in your peeps, you're grounded and centered, and now you write. All you have to do is you put your hand on paper and then just sit and wait. That's what I got to do. Now, this may take a few times. You may start writing right away. It may take you a few seconds. This is where patience and being open is really, really important. If you're patient and open, then you're going to find yourself with better results. And also, too, as a side note here, you may not. It may not be for you. Automatic writing may not be for you. Using a different format or a different method may be for you. So now, once you're sitting there and you're calm, and now you start writing. Now, you may actually lose a little bit of consciousness as you're writing. Do not be scared by this. Do not be fearful over it, because it does not mean that something's wrong. All that means is now you've kind of left it up to, because eventually you're going to kind of have to leave it up to your higher self or your spirit guide or the entity coming in to write, and use your hand very much like I let and allowed my spirit guide to come through and use my body to speak through. So doing the same. So now, as you're writing, you can start with a question. Now, one thing you can do as well before you start automatic writing is you can write a question on the top of the page in your handwriting before you zone in, before you connect. That's also a good way of kind of you can look at and decipher, your handwriting before, which you're fully conscious, as well as the new handwriting, which isn't yours, right? So now you just continue writing. So you ask a question. You could write the question on paper. You can think of the question. You can say the question out loud. And then at that point, you put your hand to paper, and you could close your eyes, or you can just look. You can look out. If you can focus on something else, and just allow it to do what it needs to do. Now, the interesting thing is, for your spirit guide, to utilize your hand to write, right? But once upon actually doing it, okay, so channel typing. Oh, see, I don't know about typing. I can tell you this. I've never tried automatic typing because I'm not a great typer in the first place. So it would probably come out because I'm not one of those sight unseen typers, typist people that could type. Like I use like these 6 fingers. I'm not like, it's, I didn't go to Mrs. Jones, whatever her name is. She was very famous in typing classes. I use the henpeck method. I'm not as bad as using 2 fingers, which is good. I've graduated to multiple fingers. And especially now for work and teaching English, I have to dictate and type exactly what my student is saying simultaneously, and then to correct their English afterwards. So so that's just kind of that. So now to automatically, I would suggest the first time out to try it out, to use it by hand with an actual pen and paper. Plus, I'm kind of old school in that way, so I think emails are great. I think the new technology is great. It's a lot faster, texting and messaging and all that. I think is fantastic. However, there's something said about the old school letter, the note. And in the past few years, I've been very fortunate to receive cards with actual writing in it, where it wasn't an email. It was like cards with writing in it, and a sentiment, and someone's feelings in there, and saying, hey, hey, Michael, welcome. So there's a lost art of the handwritten pen to paper way of doing things. So that's kind of weird, because I'm kind of stuck in the new and the old. Obviously, with technology, I'm surrounded by. I'm gonna have to put new batteries in there. With technology, I'm all surrounded with the new. And we're back. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Now, I still am not sure whether it's technology or if it's actual YouTube or if it's a combination of both. But we're in the process of trying to figure that out. But thank you for coming back. This is when you're low budge. When you're low budge, this is what you deal with. Yes, just some work for my editor to fix and sandwich it together. But it happens. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I'll be rectifying that in relatively short order. So it is what it is. We adapt. So yes, so where were we? Okay, so now you went ahead and you grounded and centered and you started writing. So you may feel a little funny, you may feel a little lightheaded, you may feel a little different. Hey, Terry. Hey, how you doing? And when you're doing automatic writing, it's really something. You're safe. So you have your spirit guides and you have your totems and you have your life protectors there by your side. So you don't have to worry so much about that kind of thing. So now when you're sitting there writing and you're in the zone, you just want to write. You just want to let it be, just kind of let it flow and just see what happens. Now you will feel a point when you're done. You will feel an energy. It will just be when you're done. One method that I've given people before was when you're releasing a lot of things and you're doing it by the beach. Remember, I had shown you that technique with using a stone and knowing when you've let go all your tensions and stresses into the stone. And because there's a physical feeling, there's a physical change to that moment in time. Well, in the same way, when you're writing, when you're using automatic writing, you know that there's going to be just a stopping point. Now, when you get to that stopping point, you're going to find and you're going to start feeling that kind of energy where you're finished. You may linger for a moment, but then take a nice couple of deep breaths and then allow your full awareness to come back in. Now, this is the fun part. After all this is said and done, when you read, if you write a sample or you write a question on the top of the page prior to bringing in. Now, as with most intuitive work and psychic work, you can find yourself thinking, am I making this up? Imagination does have something to play with this in this setting, because if you are, first of all, you have to be open. If you don't have imagination, then you're not going to be as open to allow intuition and psychic ability and all these things to come through, of course. So now, as you're sitting there and you're writing, now it was weird because I didn't know if I was writing anything. It could have all been gibberish for all I knew the first time I did it. But then at that point, when I felt it stop, and it stopped, and I didn't move, didn't do anything for a good 30 seconds. So I knew that there was no more. At that point, put the pen down, and I took a nice deep breath and brought back in. I thanked my ancestors, I thanked my guides, I thanked my life protectors, I thanked my angels for coming in. And then at that point, I read what I wrote, or what was written, using my hand. Now, at the time, I asked the question, what is happening and what is about to happen? What do I need insight on? Okay. Now, what I ended up writing was rather profound, because it was telling me about what was happening presently, but what was happening right around the corner. And sure enough, it happened. Pretty accurately. I'd have to say pretty good. I'd probably say about 90% accuracy. So, who did it? Who was the person that was writing? Was it me? Was it my higher self? Was it, my guides? Was it, divine intervention? It could be multiple possibilities. Henceforth, while you're sitting there, you want to ground and center. You want to kind of just make sure that you're in the moment, that you're in that positive space to do that. But you can find yourself gaining a lot of great information by trying these different ways of intuiting your knowledge. Because all of us are intuitive. It's just a muscle that needs to be flexed enough to find yourself gaining more information right away. Because a lot of times when we first start being intuitive, it's usually just this bad news, or something bad's about to happen. But then it increases, it gets better, where you can get all kinds of information. It becomes more complex. Same with automatic writing. You may only write a sentence or a couple of sentences. You may write a word or a couple of words. However, if you're open to it, you can actually find yourself on quite an interesting journey to figure out where your intuitive abilities lie, who's around you. You can ask your guides to show up and write for you. There's a lot of different methods, and automatic writing is just one. And I will be touching base on a lot of different other methods as well on your intuitive and psychic development as well. And again, that's all by intuition as well. Every topic, every week that the topic comes up, it's usually intuited by my guides or whoever. It's like, oh, you know what? This is what's relatable today. So a lot of times I don't even know what the topic of the show is going to be until maybe a couple of days before or that day. And lately, sorry, I don't know if it's a not sorry, but it could even be, a few minutes before going live. Today, actually, the automatic writing topic was already there since last night. So, there you go. Now, does anyone have any questions regarding automatic writing, or any questions regarding this method or methods of intuition? Or if you'd like to share an experience of your intuition, of experiences that you've had, feel free to pop it into the chat. I would love to hear about it. So feel free to just pop it in whenever you'd like, whether it be question, comment, suggestion, anything like that. Also, too, if you have any suggestions for topics for the show, feel free. You have all my social media in this channel. You can find all in my description. You find all my social media there, so you can find it there, and you can also ask questions, DM, shoot me a Facebook message on my page inside Moonshadow, whichever it may be. I'd be glad to help in any way, shape, form that I can. So, automatic writing, something that you can try, something that could open up your talents, your gifts, and abilities. This may or may not be for you. I know that I personally do not use automatic writing all the time. I've used it a handful of times in my life, and it has been very profound. Trance channeling is another way, and also, too, I haven't used it all the time for whatever reason. But it's just another method, another way that you can potentially connect to yourself, bringing yourself a stronger connection to the world, stronger connection to the divine. It's an incredible connection that you may not even know. You may or may not know. You may not even know that the connection is there, or the want or the yearning is there. But interestingly enough, when you're asleep, or when your conscious mind, your awareness takes a little moment, a pause, that's where we go. At least that's my opinion. So I would suggest definitely trying it out, and I will be having more exercises coming up, and I was given some interesting feedback recently about last week's show about doing more exercises, and the couple of people that gave me feedback on it really enjoyed it, and it was a very interesting and strong, caring experience for them. So we may go into some more techniques and that kind of thing, and also coming up, we're looking at having guests and everything as well. So we're looking at doing that, and overall, that's pretty much it for today. But I want to thank you all for being here on the show, and it's always a pleasure having you guys here. You guys are my inspiration to come in, and it really makes my day to have you guys come in and for us to connect, whether it be an hour or a little less or a little more every week. It's my little touchstone, my little connection to the world a lot of the time. So I want to thank you all for being here, because you all matter. But as I say every week, be strong, be amazing, be you. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you next week.